Hello and welcome. I am your host, Erin Taylor, and today I'm really excited to have my new friend, Veenu Keller, on with me. And Veenu is a family dynamic coach. Through her years of experience working with families and having 6 of her own kids, she developed an amazing program where she moves into your home for 4 days. Veenu has been coaching individuals from kids to adults for 10 years, and she helps individuals create the identity that will move them forward. Veenu, welcome. I'm so happy to chat with you today.
Yes, thank you so much. I've been really looking forward to this.
When you and I talked on the phone recently, and you told me that you move into people's homes for 4 days, I was so intrigued. And I thought, wow, this will be really fun to share with people because, of course, as soon as you said it, I thought of the Super Nanny.
Right.
And the Super Nanny came on before I had kids of my own, but I was obsessed with it because I worked with families and I watched it. And oh, some of the things, uh, uh.
I'm feeling you right now because I felt the same way.
Yeah. So I've often thought, since becoming a parent myself and then, continuing to do this work with parents, I've often thought there needs to be another Super Nanny show. There needs to be someone who goes into a parent's home and teaches conscious parenting to them, teaches them how to do it. Don't stick your kid on a naughty chair. No,
Right.
no, figure out why your kid is being, well, naughty, but we
Right.
won't call it that. But
Yeah,
figure out
totally.
why your child is doing that.
Hmm.
And this is what you do. So let's talk about it.
Yay. So just a little background. I have, you said, I had 6 kids. When people meet me, it's interesting because I have all the dynamics of a mom. Like I've been a joint mom with my husband. I've been a single mom for 10 years. And I have a connected family because my husband had 2 girls. So it's like whatever situation I go into, I know what it's like to be a step parent. I know what it's like to be a single mom. I know what it's like to be a married couple raising kids together with different ideas, right? Because we're all raised differently. And then we have
Mhm.
these children and it's like, okay, now parent them. And it's like, well, is your choice better than my choice? Like what is our outcome here? And I developed this program because I would not say I failed, but I failed forward in raising my boys by
Oh,
myself.
I like that.
And what that means is that I had an opportunity years ago to just have a heart to heart with my boys who are now adults. One's 25 and one's 21. And something they said to me just really stung. They said, Mom, no matter what we did was never good enough for you. And I was like,
Ooh.
oh,
Oh,
and
ouch.
that hurt so bad because back when I was raising them, I didn't know what I know now.
Mhm.
I did the best that I could with what I knew. And I have obviously raised some amazing boys. And there was a lot of hiccups along the way. And for your child to tell you as an adult that, and you see through their actions that they don't feel good enough, I have to ask myself, where did I fail as a parent? And what do I need to do to make it better? And so God blessed me with 7-year-old twins. I have twins that are now 7 to have an opportunity to do it better. And so when I say I fail forward, I learned from the failures, the hiccups that I had with my boys to become a better conscious parent. And when I say that, I'm very present with what I'm doing. If I yell, I'm very present with my yell. Like, I'm like, why am I yelling? And matter of fact, I ask my kids because I've taught them to point it out. They're like, Mom, you're yelling. And I said, why am I yelling? They're like, because we're not listening. And I'm like, and what happens when you don't listen? They say, you raise your voice because you want us to listen. You want to get our attention. This is how my 7-year-olds talk to me. And I said, so what has to happen so mommy doesn't have to raise her voice? Oh, okay, well, we'll go clean up our room now. Oh, amazing. When my child is having a temper tantrum, it's not eliciting a anger response in me. What it's eliciting is like, what are they trying to tell me?
Mm.
What is happening in that child? What's the behavior telling me? And my kids at 7 years old, because I've been doing this since they were little, they tell me, they're like, I'm really angry right now. Oh, I see you're angry. I get it. So what do we need to do with that anger? Do you need time alone to get over it and we can talk about it? And they do. They'll go to their room and I'll say, because I have created their room as their safe space. That is your space to have any emotion you want to have. It's not a timeout space. It's a space where you go and get yourself together. And so they will. And I allow, they throw their stuffed animals, they whatever. And they know before they come out, they need to clean up their mess and then come. And then they'll say, I was very angry. And I'm like, why? What happened? And they'll tell me, and then we'll resolve it. And what we realize is anger is a second emotion. There was something else.
I say that all the time.
Yes. He felt dismissed. He felt his feelings were hurt. He felt rejected. He felt not heard. And that's big with my 7-year-old son. He always says, you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. And I'm going to tell you, Erin, that's one of the things we don't do to our kids. We don't listen to that. You're not hearing me. We talk over them and we get even louder. We escalate because it's a competition. Who's going to hear who? Mm-hmm. As parents need to take a breath and we need to hear what the child is saying. And so why do I move in with families? Because I've worked with families for over 20 years, going into homes, working with kids to meet their milestones, working with behaviors, and I got to see an array of dynamic of family parenting. And I thought to myself, what happens when I leave? They're great when I show up. They're great with my coaching. What happens when I leave? What happens when we close that door? What if I gave them an opportunity to not allow me to leave, to not close that door, and for me to see, hear, and feel everything that's going on for every moment from sun up to sundown and to after. And so the kids that can't sleep in their own room, the kids that are not eating the same meal and the parents are making 5 meals, I teach them to move through that and teach your kids to make better choices. I'm that parent where you're like, oh, my kids are so bad. Your kids are not bad. They're a beautiful soul that was born in purity. They're not making great choices. And actually, they're making a very good choice for them because there's a lesson they have to learn. What's the lesson they're looking for? What can you teach them now? What can you guide them through right now? So I take away the blame and I take away the shame and I give you an opportunity to be there to guide your kids through it. And that is what my program is really about.
I love it. So what is your experience with the parents when you first get there? I imagine there's a massive change in the dynamic between you and them from the first 5 minutes that you're there to the end of the 4th day.
Yes. So it's funny because every family I've worked with, on day 4, they don't want me to go. They feel like I'm family. I feel like I'm family. Now it's like I went from Miss V to like Aunt V, mm-hmm. because like I'm just like an auntie to these kids now, and the family, because the other thing I do that we didn't see in the Super Nanny is every house I have gone into has parents that I wouldn't say on the verge of divorce, but they don't have that passion, that fire between them anymore. They've got to the point where they're fighting all the time. And a lot of the triggers are the kids' behaviors. Mm-hmm. The thing is that when you're empty, your kids feel that.
Oh, yeah.
They feel the neglect. They feel like, and they get scared. Are they going to, because they don't know, are they fighting? Are they going to leave? What can I do? If I could bring the attention on me, then I'll take the attention off them and then they'll be okay. And then my parents will stay. And it's a behavior that kids have created. And so it's a question like, so when you guys are having your argument, bicker, whatever, even though it's in another room, what happens with the kids? Oh, well, they start to escalate. Exactly. Mm-hmm. That tells you something. So I spend day 2, because I have my 4-day program, my day 2 after we put the kids to bed is all about the relationship. We talk about what are the values that you each have? What's the definition of those values? What is your wife's formula to feeling seen and heard and appreciated? What's your husband's formula to feeling appreciated and not being criticized by you? And all of a sudden the wife's like, I never knew I criticized. And the man's like, oh yeah, you did. And here, me being there just for 2 days, I'm seeing it. And I always say, Erin, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I believe in God and I believe God puts me with these families for a reason to help them see the patterns they've been running and why they're getting the same results doing the same thing. And I give them an opportunity to really go back in and not rekindle anything, but rebuild a better relationship. Because if you show up with your best, you're going to be able to parent with your best.
That's so true. That's so true. And I love that you take that time to have them focus on their relationship, because parenting is about so much more than parenting, right? In order to be the best parent that we can be, we have to be the best human, the best version of ourselves that
Yeah,
we can be.
yeah,
So that means we have to have healthy relationships to other people. We have to have a healthy relationship to ourselves. If we work, we should feel engaged and connected and excited about our work. We should take care of ourselves. I mean, there's so many things that go into really being the best version of yourself, so that you can show up and be the parent that you want to be and that your kids deserve.
right. So one of the things that I do is I look at 3 spheres that I've learned actually from Tony Robbins. And it's yourself, it's your relationship, and it's your work. You know, we just break it up into 3 categories that make us up. And then what we do is we look at the relationship. What's your relationship with yourself? What are you doing to fill yourself up? Because if you're not, if you're giving the best of you out, you're only giving yourself the rest of you. And you have to give yourself the best of you so you can continue to give the best of you to everybody else. And relationships with your kids, relationships with your spouse, relationships with your family. Like, how many families do not have a healthy relationship, and they're trying to co-parent with unhealthy things going on out there? So it's looking at the relationship of the whole family. And then your work relationship. What is your work relationship with your coworkers, with your employees, with the people above you, with the people below you, with your clients, you know? And so when you look at that, you try to get a very balanced, each circle should be balanced and intertwined with each other to have that balance. If something is incongruent, it's a great check-in to say, where am I not balanced in those circles? You know, what is lacking? Do I need to spend more time with me? What I am noticing is that once we become parents, it's like we forget about each other, like the date nights, you know, the date weekends. And that's one of the things, like when I coach couples, is looking at, where are you guys at? You know, going back and saying, where did this start? It didn't obviously start when you dated, or you wouldn't have married each other, you know, and to actually pinpoint what happens. And it's so great that through coaching, we can unveil that opportunity and say, wow. And what we always find out is they stop spending time together. His needs stop becoming my needs. My needs stop becoming his needs, because we put all our needs into the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, our relationship is the foundation to parent, because our kids, trust me, I have a 25 to 20-year-old who live out, they're going to grow up and leave. And then we're left with each other again.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the relationship you have first, like for me, it's God, husband, kids. Like, that's the order I put my for me personally, you know, and that has really helped create a better, you know, family with us. And my kids, and I'm sure you too, like, even though we're parent coaches and we're really into this, our kids act up. You know, one of my clients says, your daughter is definitely not your business card. You're right. She's not. She's my daughter. She's not my business card.
Yeah, and
She,
that would be a tremendous amount of pressure to put on her to be your business card.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the other thing that we have to get out of our own ego. What are they going to think? If my kid has a tantrum in the restaurant, people here know me. What are they going to think? They're going to think that I have a normal child that is obviously going through something, and I need to figure that out.
Yep, pretty much.
You know, I don't try to hide. I don't try to mask. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, I get better as a family coach because of my kids.
Absolutely. I remember when I started fresh out of graduate school, and I was working with foster parents, and I was 25 years old. I thought I knew everything because I spent so many years in school learning about family dynamics
Mm.
that I had all the answers. And I would go and sit with these foster parents and try to help them help their foster child. And some of them would look at me like, girl, I don't know what you think you're doing coming in here telling me what to do, and you don't even have kids. And I used to get so angry, like, who does she think she is? She thinks I don't know anything. I've been in school forever. And then once I had kids, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry I ever got angry at that woman because she was so right.
That
You
is so funny you said that, because I used to, like, my boys were older and I was working birth to three. I used to be certified for many years as an infant toddler family coach, a family specialist. And so I would go in here and I would talk about temper tantrums. I'm like, the parents are the ones who elicit it. The parents are the ones who elicit it. And I believe that. And I got parents to believe that. And then I had twins. And I'm like, maybe they need that temper tantrum as a growing spurt, to realize the boundaries that they can set for themselves, to see the structure, to see how we're going to handle it as parents.
mm-hmm.
Temper tantrum is part of the process. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, now I get it. It's really not just now parents do elicit them. I'm not going to lie
They
about
can
that.
certainly throw gasoline on the fire.
Absolutely. But there's something that triggers it. I would say that when I see parenting involved, it's when you have told your kid over and over, after you've told them no 5 times, and then you let them have the candy bar. So then their brain doesn't
Yes.
know, well, if I keep going, am I going to get the candy bar? Or does she really mean it this time?
Right. When you're
So
inconsistent, oh, that's a monster creator.
correct. Inconsistency, no follow through are my
Mm-hmm.
two big things that, honestly, for your listeners, that's your 2 millimeter for your switch. If you're having issues with your kids, check in with yourself. Am I following through? And am I consistent with my parenting? And
Mm-hmm.
you'll see big shifts just with those two little nuggets.
And also, I think it's important with parents who are trying to be consistent to make sure that whatever they think they're going to do or say moving forward, that they can follow through with it. So
Yes.
never ever make any kind of statement that you can't live up to.
Right. I see a lot of that. Parents will threaten, like, when you're going to older, like middle school. Well, you're not going to go to the dance if you don't turn your homework in.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens? You get a note home saying, okay, she missed her homework again. Like, this is 2 weeks in a row. And the parent feels bad that she's not going to the dance because it's her first middle school dance. So the parents let her go to the dance. Don't threaten. Don't make threats. Either follow through with what you say, because don't make it a consequence, make it a reward. If you turn your homework assignment, guess what you get to do? Make it as something they get to do versus something that you're going to take away.
Mm-hmm. Oh, focus on the positive. I love that.
Absolutely. Like, I'm like you, like, I don't do the timeout chair. Like, are there times for consequences? Absolutely. And I would say it's like an 80-20. 80%, it's more about moving them forward towards the reward versus the 20% of, okay, you need to have a consequence for that. So that's kind of where I'm at when I'm teaching parents on the parenting, is like, what's the outcome that they want? If they're throwing a fit, if they're constantly hitting your children, what specifically is that child wanting when they're hitting? Are they wanting control? Are they wanting attention? Because once you realize what it's for, you can feed that in a positive
Mm-hmm.
way. So the negative behavior that they're just distributing is no longer.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So when you go and move in with families for 4 days, I know you don't just shake hands, hug, and walk out the door and that's the end of it. So what is the long tail of that relationship that you're creating? How does that look on the back end?
Like anything that we do and we teach, there has to be sustainability. If not, it was just a little mini seminar vacation in your home, and then you go right back to old patterns. So part of my process is coaching, and I'm like very real and raw here. I've had my program be 100% successful, and I've had a couple families that I've learned in the recent comings that it's not successful. but those families never did the coaching. They never did the coaching. The ones that have used my program, it's been 100% successful because we've coached every week afterwards. And my money is non-refundable. Like, I look at it this way. If I could pay $10,000 to walk into a Tony Robbins event, which I've done, and I walk out and I do nothing with what I learned, I can't go back to Robbins Research International and say, can I have my money back? Because it didn't work.
No.
They're going to say, did you do the coaching that came with your package? Did you do the follow-up group coaching that came with your package? Because even Tony's packages, like those big high dollar packages, come with a sustainability group afterwards, right? To keep the momentum going. Tony has coaching because when you leave a 4-day Unleash the Power Within, he tells you, get a coach. Keep the momentum, because if not, you will go back.
Mm-hmm.
And so my programs, you can't just buy me for 4 days. You can't rent me. Like, you either buy a 3-month, 6 months, or 12-month package, or you just do one-on-one coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get more out of one-on-one coaching than you will for me just coming in for 4 days and then never seeing me again.
That's so true, because that's almost, to me, like the catalyst. That's like the match that you put on the kindling to start the fire. But if you don't have any wood on top of that kindling, there's going to be no fire. It's going to have a couple flames and burn out, and that'll be the end of it.
Right. The metaphor I use is building a house. I'm coming to lay the foundation. You have to decide if you want walls up or not. And you have to decide if you want a roof on it. And you have to decide if you want to decorate it. You have to decide if you want to make it a home, or is it just going to be a house?
I like that.
My 4 days is just a foundation.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, it's very intriguing. I love what you do, and I would love to see a Super Nanny 2.0 featuring Veenu Keller, because I think that would be really cool. As I think back on the replays of that show and the way it's parents could be guided by that, it kind of gives me hives a little bit. So I think it would be nice if we had something to kind of point in a different direction. So I'm going to put that out there for you.
Thank you. I've been looking for 4 years now, trying to talk to producers, trying to find a producer, trying to find an agent, trying to find anybody to get me out there. I coach some celebrities, so I don't want to use them, though, because they're hiring me to coach them. Right. And what are my resources? If they could just point me in the right direction so I can get a connection, because I really think it's needed. I mean, I was watching somebody that's a nanny to the stars on GMA a few weeks ago, and the advice she was giving was horrific.
Oh.
And it's like, and she's known as a celebrity star, so people are attached to that, like, well, she coaches stars, so the celebrities are hiring her, so I must. Mm-hmm. And it's all over Good Morning America, and that's what they're producing. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't say I want my kids out of my room and then make a safe space in your room for them.
No, that doesn't make sense.
No, it does not. It totally doesn't. And I've listened to the whole episode 3 times, and then I finally just blogged on it. So I thank you, thank you for putting that good juju. We're going to manifest this new show, and we're going to get in there, and we're going to help this conscious parenting even grow even more. Because if I can just say this, my why behind all of this is that I started out talking about bullying, self-harm, and suicide. And I started going into these schools, and I started listening to these kids. These kids have no self-worth or self-esteem. And I believe that we can start this right out of the womb. We can start teaching our kids self-worth and self-esteem if we take away the blame and the shame, and we really use the conscious parenting that other people like Dr. Shefali, you and I have talked about, that it has beautiful books on this, that are teaching it. I'm in the process of writing my own book too. And and there's so many books out there that talk about the conscious parenting, and we're all talking about different ways. So go get her book, go get Dr. Shefali's book, because, go start the process and start understanding. Like you, me, Aaron, we're talking about, like, when we're starting to hear this, like, it's not rocket science. It was in us. We just needed someone to be able to vocalize it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a beautiful point to end on, that we can really start positively impacting our children from birth, from the womb, before birth.
Yep.
But on the other hand, it's never too late. So if you're listening to this and your child is 5 or 10 or 15 or whatever, 20, who cares what they are? It's never too late. I have met so many adults who desperately wish that their elderly parents would come to them and say, you know what? Maybe the way I parented you wasn't the best, but I did the best I could. They desperately want that from their parents. So it is truly never too late. When you know better, you do better.
Yes. I love
Yay.
that.
So we'll leave parents on that positive note. And if they want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
My website is veenuinspires.com. That's Veenu inspires.com. And I'm on all social media under Veenu Inspires.
Super. Well, thank you for this time, Veenu, and for sharing your really, really cool program that you do with parents. I think it's really exciting, and maybe we'll see you on TV soon.
Yes. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.